What we eat is central to our health. Too much or too little of something can greatly affect our bodies and state of health that comes as a result. A major category of food which has a variety of effects on humans is sugar. Sugar is part of our daily lives, especially as college students. We want a quick snack, an easy meal to make, or to fulfill the desire of eating something sweet. The United States government should create strict sugar regulations because of the short-term, long-term, and mental health effects. Being part of the younger generation, significant changes can be made to alter the view of sugar and how it affects humankind. Even though it might taste good and fulfill that sweet tooth, there are downsides which makes sweets maybe not so sweet. Maybe mental health is already something you or someone you know struggles with. Maybe there's a history of health challenges in your family or in the family of your significant other. Eating sugar increases the chances of health complications and health risks. The United States government should create strict sugar regulations due to the short-term, long-term, and mental health effects. The first reason the United States government should create strict sugar regulations is because of the short-term effects. On average, Americans consume 133 grams of sugar per day. That's 48,545 grams, which is also 107 pounds per year, respectively. The American Heart Association recommends that women should not get more than 100 calories a day from sugar, 150 calories for men. To put that in perspective, a single can of soda will push you over the 6 teaspoons of sugar per day limit. That's from an article on girlworks.com. This statistic shows that Americans are consuming an excessive amount of sugar. Both men and women are recommended to eat significantly less than is averagely consumed. And that was actually from a journal article, a magazine, not a website. An article titled "The Truth About Sugar" says, "A number of studies have found sugar affects your immunity, making it harder to fight off viruses and infections. It also interferes with mineral absorption, messes with fertility, speeds up the aging process, and is linked to the development of cancers. When sugar is consumed, it directly affects one's immune system. This causes someone to be more prone to becoming ill and having a harder time fighting off sicknesses." Another reason the United States government should create strict sugar regulations is because of the long-term effects. WebMD explains sugar's effect on health by saying, "When you eat excess sugar, the extra insulin in your bloodstream can affect your arteries all over your body. It causes their walls to get inflamed, grow thicker than normal and more stiff. This stresses your heart and damages it over time. This can lead to heart disease like heart failure, heart attacks, and strokes." This explanation talks about eating an excess amount of sugar. Natural sugars are present in many foods we eat, such as fruits and dairy. Therefore, eating those natural sugars is going to make up part of our regular intake. These sugars are easier to digest and for our bodies to handle because of them not being artificial. Because of the way added sugars can be hard to spot, most Americans are unaware of the amount of their sugar intake. Sugar can be found in breads, dressings, and sauces, along with a variety of other foods that maybe you wouldn't expect it to be in. An article called "The Behavioral Effects of Chronic Sugar Consumption in Adults" states, "Sugar exposure resulted in neurochemical changes that are similar to the changes associated with chronic exposure to drugs of abuse." In other words, eating sugar causes the brain to feel the same effects that it does when on drugs. This explains why sugar can become so addicting. It also makes sense why people crave it so much. Once someone takes a bite of ice cream, Before they know it, they realize they're at the bottom of the pint. This craving for sweets spirals into an addiction that just continues on as individuals consume more and more. The last reason the United States government should create strict sugar regulations is because of the mental health effects. A journal called Neuroscience and Behavioral Reviews provides an article called The Impact of Sugar Consumption on Stress-Driven, Emotional, and Addictive Behaviors. It says, emotional eating has been shown to stem from the desire to mitigate the effects of stress, and stress is partially regulated by the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, also known as HPA axis. Interestingly, activity of the HPA axis has been shown to be reduced through the consumption of sugar-containing foods. Following consumption, hormones are released to reduce the feelings of stress, which also increase the desire for comfort foods, thus perpetuating emotional eating habits. This excerpt shows the intensity of sugar on one's mental state, specifically their emotional health. When a person feels stressed, the body releases hormones, which causes the craving for sweets to increase. The body becomes used to sugar being used as a coping mechanism. This results in emotional eating habits continuing as sugar is used to mitigate stress. The United States government should create strict sugar regulations because of the short-term, long-term, and mental health effects. Regulating sugar will help significantly in Americans' lives by improving their health. If sugar is not monitored, there will be higher risks of health challenges physically, emotionally, and mentally. Creating strict regulations would mean not adding sugar to food products where it is unnecessary. Foods with flavor don't need additional sweeteners. Fruit juice really doesn't need added sugar since the fruit is naturally sweet. With added sugar being regulated in food production, the health of Americans will gradually begin to improve. There will be lower risks of short-term and long-term effects, along with less challenges in mental health. Added sugar is definitely not a necessary ingredient for human survival and health. There is already a sufficient amount of natural sugars in food. To reduce sugar intake, there are several steps that can be taken. Nutrition labels should be closely looked at to determine the amounts of added sugar. Instead of fulfilling one's sweet tooth with a candy bar or some ice cream, they can choose instead to eat a piece of fruit. Although it might be challenging at first to not give in to the sweetest options, the body will adjust and become used to consuming natural sugars as a replacement. In summary, the government regulating sugar intake of Americans will help society become even sweeter. Thank you.